Hey friends, how's it going? Ash here, welcome back to Gents. Hope that you're doing well. Today we're talking one of the most hyped, most loved men's fragrance releases of the past few years, none other than this guy, Dior's Sauvage Elixir. Or actually, not really Sauvage Elixir, we're talking fragrances that smell close to, similar to Sauvage Elixir, but don't cost as much because this stuff is pretty pricey. But to be fair, it does have great quality. It's got good performance, lasts a long time, projects heavily, smells classy, masculine, sophisticated. It's a really well done scent, good quality, everything to like here, except for, again, that price point. So that's where these two come in, because both of these are gonna give you something quite similar to Sauvage Elixir, only for much less. Now this one, all of you know about, Lattafa Asad. We're gonna talk a little bit about that one, but mainly what we're gonna be talking about is this one over here. This is from Fragrance World, and it's called Enigma Une. Now this is one that you probably have seen on the channel if you've watched a bunch of videos, because I've featured it in a number of different lists and things like that. But I want to go into a little more detail today. So that's what we're gonna be doing. We're gonna be talking Sauvage Elixir, except not exactly. Now I've got these linked in the description. Feel free to check them out down there. And I do want to make you aware once again of that new code GS25, GS25, which is good for buy one, get one 25% off at fragflex.com. And it does scale, so if you buy 4 fragrances, you would get 2 25% off. You buy 6, you would get 3 25% off. That's how it goes. Let's go ahead and kick things off here by taking a closer look at the presentation of this one right here. So here is your box. It's actually a really nice looking box. You have the name of the fragrance, name of the house right there on the front, Eau de Parfum, 100 ml size. You have the FA Paris logo up top, which is Fragrance World. Then on the back, you have your ingredients, and you have your little sticker of authenticity. On the bottom, you have your batch code, and it is printed in ink, so a little difficult to see. It says my bottle expires in 2028. And here we have the bottle. It feels good in the hand. It's nice and heavy, doesn't feel cheap. You have the name of the fragrance on the front there, once again, the FA Paris logo. And the cap clicks into place, but not super snugly, see? So be cautious with it. And you have a little sticker on the bottom as well. I have talked about this before. It's a minor annoyance of mine, but this little plastic piece around the top, when you pick it up, makes that noise. I don't know, maybe it's actually addictive. It's the cap. Overall, the presentation is really nice, just a couple of minor quirks to it. And I don't know if you need to see the Lattafa bottle, but here's a little cutaway so you can see it a little bit closer up. Let's go ahead and share a few sprays of both of these guys right here, starting off with Enigma Une. Here we go. Now, I hope you paid attention to that. Here's Lattafa Asad. Now I did those pretty quickly. I'm gonna do one more spray of each, just so you can kind of see what I'm gonna be talking about here. The Fragrance World atomizer is not a bad atomizer. It feels smooth when you press it down and everything. It doesn't feel super cheap, but the way that it disperses the fragrance is basically like shotgun style. So it doesn't go out very far, and it just kind of makes this big wide spread. So it makes like a small cloud that spreads a lot where you spray it. See if you can see that on camera here. It kind of disperses really quickly into a big cloud. So what ends up happening when you spray that on skin is, if you're like back here, it barely mists you. Like barely any of that feels like it really got on my skin. So you have to kind of hold it close and really kind of douse yourself at like point blank range. Now compare that to the Lattafa. This one sprays out quite a bit harder and a bigger stream overall. Yeah, we're talking streams here. Again, it may not look like it from far away here, but when you spray this on skin, you can be back here and you can get a good amount on there. Again, don't know if that's coming across, but that got me really well right here from like 3 times the distance of this one. So both atomizers actually feel good. They spray well, they don't feel cheap or grindy, because there are some clone fragrances that when you go in and give it a spray, the atomizer just feels like trash. Like it feels really cheap. These don't have that issue, but they do function in very different ways. So realistically, in my opinion, with this guy over here, you need to spray like twice to get as much as you get from one spray of this. So I bring all this up just to basically say that if you get these and you're comparing them or something, you have to be aware of how much you're spraying and from how far away. Because if you spray 3 sprays of this from this distance and 3 sprays of this from the same, you're gonna be probably wearing twice as much of the Asad. And then it's gonna seem like, oh my God, the Lattafa is so much stronger, it's not even close. Yes, you're wearing twice as much of it. All that out of the way though, let's talk shop. Let's talk the fragrances. Now, as I said, this guy, Sauvage Elixir, really popular. And again, for good reason. It smells very masculine, has kind of a throwback feel to it a little bit. It's got like 80s vibes made modern, performs like a monster. It projects heavily, it lasts an extremely long time. It's woodsy, it's spicy. It has just a touch of sweetness in there that helps take a little edge off. Good evening scent, good daytime scent. You can wear it formally, you can wear it casually, wear it on a date. It's a great scent, especially for people like me who are suckers for scents from the 80s. Give me something like that, but done with very high quality ingredients in a modern way, sold. So what we're gonna try to determine here is which of these does the best job at getting you this. Let's just sit you over here, guy. Well, the first thing I need to tell you is there is not an astronomical difference between these two. They both are extremely well done alternatives to Sauvage Elixir. So at the end of the day, if you have this one or you have this one, you're not really missing out on a huge amount by not having the other one, because they are, at the end of the day, both emulating this one right here. And like I said, they both do a really, really good job. In terms of price points right now, from discounters, Asad is typically cheaper. This one is gonna run you typically around the $25 range. Maybe you'll see it a little bit more, maybe a little bit less, but somewhere around there. This one is about $35, sometimes a little bit more, sometimes a little bit less, but overall, this one is the more expensive of the two. Now, when you very first spray these ones on, Asad is slightly rougher around the edges. It has a bigger blast of spice off the top. The way that the black pepper hits you is a little bit stronger, a little bit more in your face as compared to Enigma Une. Enigma Une, a little bit smoother. It does come across slightly softer, not weaker, just softer in terms of that aggressiveness than Asad. It has a nice balance of sweetness and spiciness off the top. And then as it starts to dry, Asad has vanilla that comes in a little bit quicker than it does over here. Now, that's not to say Enigma Une is devoid of vanilla. It has a little bit of that too. Again, they're both copying the same fragrance. So you would expect a lot of similarities. So the vanilla comes in a little bit quicker in Asad. It's a little bit more in the foreground. And this guy, Enigma Une, it kind of leans more into that spicy, woody, classy side of Sauvage Elixir. Asad does maintain more of that like somewhat sparkly, but also aggressive spiciness the longer that it stays on your skin. This one is really smoother from the opening into the mid, into the dry down. But depending on how you perceive the fragrance, that could be a positive or a negative, because the way that Lattafa Asad comes across with that kind of in-your-face nature does make it come across like the more bold fragrance, like the more in-your-face fragrance. Whereas this one takes on more of like a classy take on Sauvage Elixir. So it's like two different styles of this, while still being really similar to each other in a way. I think that between the two, Enigma Une actually comes closer to being like a straight up one-to-one of Sauvage Elixir. Asad has some more differences. Again, not massive differences from Elixir, but enough that between the two, when you compare them side by side with the OG, this is the closer of the bunch. And interestingly enough, into the dry down, this one, Enigma Une, has that vanilla come out a little bit more, that sweetness, that amber comes out a little bit more and kind of melds with the woods. Provides a nice contrast, a nice balance. And Asad is still kind of wailing away. It takes on more of a dryness, Asad does. It gets like this dry woodiness that mixes with the spice and the vanilla from before in the base. So I guess let's break it down in just a really Cliff's Notes, kind of simplified way with these two. In terms of performance, again, you gotta factor in the atomizer, but I think Asad is a little bit punchier. It's got a little more projection, it's a little more aggressive. This one, Enigma Une, has good performance, really solid, lasts a long time, projects well, but you have to concentrate on that atomizer and make sure that you get, you know, nice coverage. As long as you do that, they're really comparable, but I still think Asad has a little more of a punch to it. And part of that is gonna be because it has just more of an aggressive overall scent profile, which you can tell immediately. Spray these on side by side, you can tell. Go from one to the other. This one is way smoother right off the bat. This one, Asad, much more, yeah, just aggressive, bold, in your face. Does it smell maybe a little bit cheaper? Kind of. I mean, if you take the way that performance comes, it is, you know, kind of an aroma chemically pop, but it still smells nice. Smells good, well done. It's just this is smoother, this is louder. In terms of when you would use them, exact same time. I mean, yeah, fall, winter, day, night. Pull it off early spring, you know, that's pretty much when it would be good for. That said, I've smelled people wearing Sauvage Elixir in the tropics, and it worked. They didn't have a ton of it on, but I could tell immediately what it was, and it worked. So, I mean, again, one of those things I always say, if you know the fragrance works for you, and you know it's gonna work where you're going and what you're doing, feel free to wear it. But as far as when you would, you know, pigeonhole it for, a more winter, fall leaning evening. As I said before, between the two, the one that's closer to Sauvage Elixir overall and scent profile from top to bottom is gonna be this one right here. If you want one that has a more aggressive spiciness with vanilla that comes in earlier and then dry woods that really kind of like start to overtake the show as it hits the base. Asad, I don't know why I hit that so hard. And then Enigma Une right here has a really nice mix of smooth spices and woods initially, with the vanilla and amber waiting until the dry down to kind of come out and then play an equal footing with the woods and spices that remain from the open and mid. So for me, which one is the best buy? I don't know that there's really a clear-cut winner. The Lattafa is cheaper. If you're going for the absolute best bang for your buck, that's this one. If you want one that's smoother, that's classier, that is overall closer to Sauvage Elixir, you go for this one. If you want the one that has the strongest performance, that's gonna get you probably noticed the absolute most, you go for Asad. So I guess to an extent, could you say this is the more youthful choice for Sauvage Elixir alternative, and this one is a little bit more grown up? You could probably say that. Overall though, both of these are amazing alternatives when you consider the price point and the quality to Sauvage Elixir, and you can't go wrong with either one. So there we go, Fragrance World, Lattafa, both of these fantastic clones, fantastic releases, and of course Sauvage Elixir, just a monster. Thank you all for hanging with me. Stay safe out there, and I'll see you tomorrow with another fragrance video. See you guys later.